January 2026. If you're watching this video, you're probably asking yourself the same question thousands of Social Security recipients ask every single January. When is my check actually coming? Maybe you've heard rumors online about payments being moved. Maybe you're worried about delays after the holidays. Maybe you checked your bank account expecting money and didn't see it yet. Or maybe you're one of those folks who's already seen a payment arrive in late December and you're wondering if something went wrong. Let me be very clear right from the start. I'm not here to tell you about extra money. I'm not here to hype up some bonus payment or secret increase. What I am here to do is walk you through exactly how the January 2026 payment schedule works, why it looks different from other months, and when you can realistically expect your money to arrive based on your specific benefit type. Because here's the truth, January is always confusing. Not because Social Security is trying to trick anyone, not because there are random changes happening behind the scenes, but because of how the calendar falls, how federal holidays work, and how banking systems handle weekends and government closures. By the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly when your payment should arrive, why some people get paid in December for January benefits, and what to do if something actually does go wrong. So let's slow down, take a breath, and go through this step by step. Every year, without fail, January brings confusion for Social Security recipients. And it's not your fault. It's not because you're doing something wrong or misunderstanding the system. It's because January has unique timing challenges that other months don't always have. First, there's New Year's Day. January 1st is a federal holiday. That means the Social Security Administration, banks, and most financial institutions are closed. And under federal law, Social Security cannot issue payments on a day when federal offices are closed. Second, weekends complicate things. If a payment date falls on a Saturday or Sunday, it gets moved earlier to the previous Friday. This is standard procedure all year long, but in January, when you combine weekends with the New Year's holiday, things start to shift around in ways that feel unusual. Third, there's the calendar effect. Some people who are scheduled to receive a payment early in January will actually see that money arrive in late December. This isn't a mistake. It's not an advance. It's simply the way the rules work when a scheduled payment date would fall on a weekend or holiday. And finally, there's the fact that many people are still recovering financially from the holidays. December is expensive. Bills pile up. And when your January payment arrives at a different time than usual, or when you see two payments hit your account in December, it can feel alarming or confusing, even when everything is actually working exactly as it should. So let's break down how Social Security actually sets these dates, because once you understand the system, the confusion starts to disappear. Social Security doesn't just pick random dates to send out money. The payment schedule is set by federal law, and it's been this way for decades. There are clear rules about who gets paid when, and those rules are based on your benefit type and your birth date. Let me walk you through the main payment groups. SSI recipients, that's Supplemental Security Income, are always paid on the first day of the month. If the first falls on a weekend or holiday, the payment moves to the last business day of the previous month. So if January 1st is a holiday, SSI recipients get paid on the last business day of December instead. People who started receiving benefits before May 1997 are also paid on the third day of the month. Again, if that day falls on a weekend or holiday, the payment shifts earlier. Everyone else, and this includes most retirement, disability, and survivor benefit recipients, is paid based on their birth date. This is the Wednesday schedule that most people follow. Here's how it works. If you were born between the 1st and 10th of the month, you get paid on the second Wednesday. If you were born between the 11th and 20th, you get paid on the third Wednesday. If you were born between the 21st and 31st, you get paid on the fourth Wednesday. This system spreads payments out over the month so that the Social Security Administration isn't trying to process millions of payments on the same day. It's efficient, and it's predictable once you know which group you're in. But here's where January 2026 gets tricky. Because of the way the calendar falls this year, some of those payment dates shift in ways that might surprise you if you're not expecting them. In 2026, January 1st is a Wednesday. That means New Year's Day is a federal holiday, and it lands right in the middle of the week. Now, remember what I said earlier, Social Security cannot issue payments on a federal holiday. So any payment that would normally be scheduled for January 1st has to be moved. And under the rules, when a payment date falls on a holiday, it doesn't move to the next available day. It moves backward to the last business day before the holiday. That's why SSI recipients who are normally paid on the first of the month will receive their January 2026 payment on December 31st, 2025 instead. That's a Tuesday. It's the last business day before the holiday, and that's when the money will arrive. For people who receive benefits on the third of the month, those folks who started receiving Social Security before May 1997, the same rule applies. January 3rd, 2026 is a Friday, so those payments should arrive on schedule. But if January 3rd had fallen on a weekend or holiday, those payments would have also shifted earlier. This is not a bonus. This is not an advance. This is simply the legal requirement that payments cannot be issued on days when federal offices are closed. The money is still for the month of January. It's just arriving in December because of the calendar. And I want to be very clear about this because I've seen so much confusion online. If you receive an SSI payment on December 31st, that is your January payment. You will not receive another SSI payment in early January. The next one after that will be for February, and it will arrive on February 1st, assuming that's a business day. Let's talk about the people on the Wednesday schedule because this is where things get really interesting in January 2026. If you're on the regular Wednesday payment schedule, meaning you started benefits after May 1997, and you get paid based on your birth date, your payment date is determined by which Wednesday of the month your birth date group falls under. In January 2026, here's how the Wednesdays line up. January 1st is the first Wednesday, but it's a holiday. January 8th is the second Wednesday. January 15th is the third Wednesday. January 22nd is the fourth Wednesday. Now, here's the key detail. None of these Wednesdays fall on a weekend or holiday except for January 1st itself. So most people on the Wednesday schedule will get their payments on the normal schedule in January. But let me explain who might see money arrive in late December instead. If your benefit payment date would normally fall on January 1st, and remember that's a federal holiday, then your payment would be moved to the last business day before the holiday, which is December 31st. However, under the standard Wednesday schedule for birth dates, January 1st is not a typical payment date for retirement and SSDI recipients on the birth date system. The second, third, and fourth Wednesdays are what matter. So, for most retirement and disability recipients, your January payment will arrive in January on your regularly scheduled Wednesday. If you're born between the 1st and 10th, you'll be paid January 8th. If you're born between the 11th and 20th, you'll be paid January 15th. If you're born between the 21st and 31st, you'll be paid January 22nd. The people who will see a late December payment are primarily SSI recipients and those who receive benefits on the third of the month. Those are the groups affected by the January 1st holiday. Let's spend a moment focused specifically on SSI because this program has the most confusion in January. SSI stands for Supplemental Security Income. It's a needs-based program for people with limited income and resources who are elderly, blind, or disabled. SSI is different from Social Security retirement or disability benefits. It's administered by Social Security, but the payment rules are a little different. SSI is always paid on the first of the month. Always. That's the rule. But when the first falls on a weekend or federal holiday, the payment is moved to the last business day before that weekend or holiday. In January 2026, the first is a Wednesday, but it's New Year's Day. So the SSI payment gets moved to Tuesday, December 31st, 2025. That means if you receive SSI, you're going to see a payment on December 31st. That is your January payment. It's not extra. It's not a double payment. It's simply January arriving early because of the holiday. Now, here's something that confuses people. You might have already received your December SSI payment earlier in December. So when you get another payment on December 31st, it looks like you got two payments in the same month. And technically, you did receive two deposits in December. But one is for December and one is for January. They're separate months of benefits, just both arriving in the same calendar month because of how the dates lined up. This happens almost every year when January 1st is a weekend or holiday. It's completely normal. It doesn't mean you won't get a February payment. February will arrive on February 1st, assuming that's a business day, which it is in 2026. The important thing is not to spend both payments thinking they're both for December. Budget carefully because that December 31st deposit needs to cover your January expenses. Now, let's talk about the majority of Social Security recipients, people receiving retirement benefits, Social Security disability insurance, and survivor benefits who are on the birth date payment schedule. If you fall into this group, your payment date depends on the day of the month you were born. This system was put in place years ago to spread out the workload for Social Security and to avoid overwhelming the banking system with millions of payments on the same day. Here's the breakdown again for January 2026. If you were born between the 1st and the 10th, your payment arrives on the second Wednesday of the month. In January 2026, that's January 8th. If you were born between the 11th and the 20th, your payment arrives on the third Wednesday. That's January 15th. If you were born between the 21st and the 31st, your payment arrives on the fourth Wednesday. That's January 22nd. None of these dates fall on a weekend. None of them fall on a federal holiday after New Year's. So all three groups will receive their payments on the scheduled Wednesday in January. There is no early December payment for people on the Wednesday schedule in January 2026 because none of your scheduled payment dates are being affected by a weekend or holiday. Your money arrives in January on your normal Wednesday, just like it does most other months. If you're in this group and you're waiting for money to show up in late December, it's not coming. That's normal. That's how the schedule works this year. Your deposit will hit your account on your assigned Wednesday in January. So let's be very clear about who is actually getting money in late December for January benefits. SSI recipients will receive their January payment on December 31st, 2025. That's because January 1st is a federal holiday and SSI is always paid on the 1st. So when the 1st is a holiday, the payment moves to the last business day before it. People who receive benefits on the 3rd of the month, those who started receiving Social Security before May 1997, will receive their payment on January 3rd, 2026, which is a Friday. This is not a late December payment. But if January 3rd had been a weekend or a holiday, their payment would have arrived earlier. That's really it. Those are the two groups that are directly affected by the January 1st holiday in a way that shifts money into late December or adjusts the timing. Everyone else on the regular Wednesday birth date schedule gets paid in January on their assigned Wednesday exactly as planned. If you're not in one of these groups and you're seeing social media posts or YouTube videos claiming everyone is getting paid early, that information is wrong. It's not accurate. And it can cause unnecessary stress when you're waiting for money that was never scheduled to arrive early in the first place. I want to take a moment to talk about what's normal, because I've seen so many people panic when they don't see an early payment that they were never supposed to receive. If you are on the birth date payment schedule, the Wednesday system, and you were born between the 1st and 31st of any month, you are not getting an early payment in December unless your specific Wednesday happens to fall on a holiday or weekend. In January 2026, that is not the case. Your money is coming on your scheduled Wednesday in January. That is the correct date. That is the normal date. You are not being skipped. You are not being delayed. The system is working exactly as it should. I've seen comments online from people who say things like, "I didn't get paid early like everyone else. What's wrong?" And the answer is nothing is wrong. You're simply in a different payment group, and your payment isn't affected by the January 1st holiday in a way that shifts it earlier. This is really important to understand because there is so much misinformation out there, especially in January. Every year, videos and posts go viral claiming that everyone is getting paid early, or that there are two payments coming, or that Social Security is doing something unusual. Most of the time, these posts are either misunderstanding the rules, combining information from different payment groups, or just trying to get clicks and views by making things sound more dramatic than they are. The reality is simple. Social Security follows a legal payment schedule. If your date isn't affected by a holiday or weekend, you get paid on your regular day. If your date is affected, it moves earlier according to the rules. There's no mystery, no hidden bonus, no secret changes. Now let's talk about something that does confuse people every year: seeing two payments in December. This happens to SSI recipients and sometimes to people who receive benefits on the third of the month when the calendar lines up a certain way. Here's how it works. Let's say you're an SSI recipient. You got your regular December SSI payment on December 1st. That's your December money. Then on December 31st, you get another payment. That's your January money arriving early because January 1st is a holiday. So in December, you received two deposits, but those deposits are for two different months. One is December, one is January. You didn't get extra money, you didn't get a bonus. You simply received 2 months of payments within the same calendar month because of how the dates lined up. This is really important for budgeting. That second payment is not extra money to spend freely. It's your January payment, and it needs to last through January. The same thing can happen if you're in the group that gets paid on the 3rd and the January 3rd payment arrived in late December due to a weekend. You'd see your regular December payment and then another payment before the month ends. Again, 2 deposits, 2 different months of benefits.
If you're seeing 2 payments in December and you're not sure why, check your payment schedule. Look at your benefit type. Check the calendar. Most likely, you're just seeing January arriving early, and that's completely normal and expected. But here's the other side of that. If you get 2 payments in December, don't expect another payment in early January. The next payment after your early January deposit will be for February, so you'll have a longer stretch before the next deposit arrives. Plan accordingly. This is something nobody really talks about, but it's important. When your January payment arrives in late December, January can feel financially longer because you're living on money that arrived 4 or 5 weeks ago by the time the end of January rolls around. And then, if your February payment is on schedule for February 1st or your assigned Wednesday, you might have a longer gap than usual between deposits. This isn't Social Security's fault. It's just the way the calendar works. But it can create cash flow challenges, especially if you're on a fixed income and you're budgeting carefully. The best advice I can give you is this. If you receive an early payment in December for January, treat it like it's for January. Don't think of it as extra holiday money. Don't spend it all in December. Set it aside or budget it carefully so that you have enough to cover your expenses throughout January. It might also help to think of it this way. The payment schedule is based on when you're supposed to get paid, not when the money happens to hit your account. Even if the money arrives on December 31st, it's still your January income. So treat it like January income. And if you're someone who lives paycheck to paycheck or payment to payment, consider setting aside even a small cushion if you can. Even $20 or $30 can help smooth out these timing gaps when they happen. Let's talk about the amount of money you'll see in your January payment, because that's another source of confusion. In 2026, Social Security benefits are receiving a cost of living adjustment, or COLA. This is an annual increase designed to help benefits keep pace with inflation. The exact percentage for 2026 should be announced by Social Security in the fall of 2025, but typically it's somewhere between 2% and 4%, depending on economic conditions. That means your January payment should be slightly higher than your December payment. But the increase might be smaller than you expect, especially if your Medicare Part B premium also goes up. Here's what happens. Your COLA increase is applied to your gross benefit amount. But if you have Medicare Part B, that premium is automatically deducted from your Social Security payment. And Medicare premiums often increase each year as well. So even though your benefit went up, your net payment, the amount that actually hits your bank account, might only go up by a small amount, or in some cases might feel like it barely changed at all, because the Medicare increase ate up part of the COLA. This is not Social Security taking money from you. It's just how the deductions work. Your benefit did go up. It's just that your Medicare premium also went up, and one offsets the other to some degree. If you want to see your exact benefit amount and your exact deductions, you can check your Social Security account online at ssa.gov, or you can look at the paper statement that Social Security mails out in December explaining your new payment amount for the year. Don't panic if the number looks smaller than you expected. Do the math. Check your deductions. Make sure everything adds up. Most of the time, it's correct, and the difference is just due to the Medicare premium increase. But let's say you check your January payment and something really does look wrong. Maybe the amount is significantly lower than it should be. Maybe there's a deduction you don't recognize. Maybe the COLA increase didn't seem to apply at all. Here's what you should do. First, stay calm. Don't panic. Most payment issues can be resolved, and most of the time, there's a simple explanation. Second, check your Social Security account online or review any letters or statements you've received from Social Security. Sometimes there are deductions for things like overpayments being recovered, or garnishments, or tax withholdings that you set up and forgot about. Third, if you still think there's an error, contact Social Security. You can call the national number at 1-800-772-1213. The lines are open Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. local time. Be prepared to wait on hold, especially in January when call volumes are high. You can also visit your local Social Security office, but many offices require appointments now, so call ahead to check. If you contact Social Security, have your information ready, your Social Security number, your date of birth, and details about what looks wrong. Be polite. The people on the phone are trying to help you, and they're dealing with thousands of calls during this time of year. Most issues are resolved pretty quickly once you get through to someone who can look at your account. But don't wait. If you think something is wrong, address it as soon as possible so it doesn't carry over into future months. Now, what if your payment doesn't arrive at all on the date it's supposed to? First, check the calendar. Make sure you have the right payment date based on your benefit type and birth date. A lot of people think their payment is late when really they're just looking at the wrong date. Second, check your bank account carefully. Sometimes payments post at odd hours, or they show up under a slightly different name than you expect. Look for deposits from SSI or Social Security or the U.S. Treasury. Third, wait one business day. Sometimes there are processing delays, especially around holidays. If your payment was supposed to arrive on a Wednesday and it's now Thursday and you still don't see it, that's when you should start to be concerned. Fourth, contact your bank. Ask them if there's a pending deposit from Social Security. Sometimes banks hold deposits for verification, especially if there's been unusual account activity or if it's a new account. Fifth, if your bank says there's no deposit coming, contact Social Security. Again, call 1-800-772-1213. Let them know your payment didn't arrive. They can check whether the payment was sent, where it was sent, and whether there was an issue. In very rare cases, payments can be delayed because of administrative issues, errors, or problems with direct deposit information. Social Security can investigate and, if necessary, issue a replacement payment. But I want to be very clear, actual missing payments are rare. Most of the time, when someone thinks their payment is missing, it's either a date confusion, a bank processing delay, or they're in a different payment group than they realized. Let's talk about the difference between a Social Security delay and a banking delay, because people often confuse the two. Social Security sends payments out on a specific schedule. Once they send the payment, it goes into the banking system. Most banks process Social Security direct deposits very quickly, and the money usually shows up in your account on the scheduled payment date, often early in the morning. But banks can have delays. They can have processing issues. They can have system outages. And when that happens, your payment might not show up exactly when you expect it, even though Social Security sent it on time. This is frustrating, but it's not Social Security's fault. It's a banking issue. And unfortunately, Social Security can't force your bank to process a deposit faster. If you consistently have problems with your bank posting your Social Security payments late, consider switching banks. There are many banks and credit unions that handle Social Security deposits reliably, and some even advertise early access to government payments as a benefit for customers. On the other hand, if Social Security doesn't send the payment at all, that's a Social Security issue, and you need to contact them to resolve it. The key is figuring out where the delay is happening. If Social Security says they sent it and your bank says they don't have it, there's a communication breakdown somewhere, and both sides need to investigate. I want to spend a minute talking about misinformation because it's everywhere, especially in January. Every single year, videos and posts go viral claiming that Social Security is issuing emergency payments, or bonus payments, or double payments, or that everyone is getting paid early. And every year, millions of people see these posts and get their hopes up, only to be disappointed when the claims turn out to be exaggerated or completely false. Here's the truth. Social Security does not issue surprise bonus payments. They do not randomly decide to give everyone extra money. The payment schedule is set by law, and it doesn't change unless Congress passes new legislation. When you see a video with a title like Social Security sending $2,000 extra in January, or everyone getting 2 checks this month, it's almost certainly misleading. These videos are designed to get clicks. They're designed to get views. They're not designed to give you accurate, reliable information. The best thing you can do is go directly to the source. Visit SSA.gov. Look at your own Social Security account. Check your payment schedule based on your benefit type. Don't rely on random videos or posts from people who may not even understand how the system works. And if you do see a video that makes a big claim, ask yourself, does this make sense? Is this consistent with how Social Security normally operates? Is there an official announcement from Social Security confirming this? Most of the time, if something sounds too good to be true, it is. Let's talk about budgeting, because if you're receiving a late December payment for January benefits, you need a plan. Getting your January money in December can feel like a windfall. It's tempting to treat it like bonus money, especially right after the holidays when you might be feeling stretched thin financially. But remember, that's your January income. It needs to cover your January bills, your January groceries, your January prescriptions, and everything else you need to get through the month. Here's my advice. When that December 31st payment hits your account, immediately separate it mentally from your December money. If you can, physically move it into a separate account or envelope so you're not tempted to dip into it. Then, look at your January expenses. When is your rent or mortgage due? When do your utility bills come out? When do you need to buy groceries? Make a list, make a plan, and stick to it. If you're worried about spending the money too quickly, consider setting up automatic payments for your bills so the money goes where it needs to go without you having to think about it. And if you have a little bit left over after covering your essentials, resist the urge to spend it all at once. Put it aside for an emergency or save it for February, when you might have a longer gap between payments. Budgeting on a fixed income is hard. It's even harder when payment dates shift around. But with a little planning and discipline, you can make it work. I want to take a moment to speak directly to anyone watching this who is feeling stressed, anxious, or overwhelmed about money right now. Living on Social Security is not easy. For many people, it's their only income, and it has to stretch to cover everything. When the payment schedule changes, even by a few days, it can feel destabilizing. And when you see confusing information online or hear rumors about delays or missing payments, it can add to that stress. But I want you to know this. The system is working. Social Security is still sending payments. The schedule is still in place. And unless there's a very specific problem with your individual account, your money is coming. If you're worried, that's understandable. But don't let fear take over. Take a breath. Check your payment schedule. Look at the calendar. Reach out to Social Security if you need to. But don't panic based on rumors or viral posts that aren't grounded in fact. You deserve accurate information. You deserve to feel secure. And you deserve to know that your benefits are protected by law and that millions of people are counting on the same system. And it's working for them too. If you're struggling financially, there are resources available. Local food banks, utility assistance programs, prescription discount programs, and community organizations can help. You don't have to do this alone. And remember, understanding your payment schedule is one of the most powerful tools you have. When you know when your money is coming and why, you can plan. You can budget. You can take control of your financial life, even when things feel uncertain. All right, let's bring this all together. January 2026 is not a mystery. The payment schedule is straightforward once you understand how it works. SSI recipients will receive their January payment on December 31st, 2025, because January 1st is a federal holiday. People who started receiving benefits before May 1997 will get their payment on January 3rd, 2026, which is a Friday and a regular business day. Everyone else on the birth date payment schedule will be paid on their assigned Wednesday in January, the 8th, 15th, or 22nd, depending on when you were born. If you see 2 payments in December, that's not a bonus. That's your December payment and your January payment both arriving in the same calendar month because of the holiday. If you don't see an early payment and you're on the Wednesday schedule, that's normal. Your payment is coming in January as scheduled. And if something does seem wrong, if your payment is late, if the amount looks off, if you're genuinely concerned, contact Social Security or your bank and get it sorted out. Don't wait. Don't panic. Just take action. The most important thing you can do is understand your own benefit type, know your payment date, and ignore the hype and misinformation that floods the internet every January. You're not alone in this. Millions of people are navigating the same system. And the system, despite its quirks and timing issues, is designed to get your money to you reliably, month after month. I hope this video gave you clarity. I hope it helped you feel more confident about when your money is coming and why. And I hope it reminded you that you have the power to understand this system and take control of your financial planning. If this was helpful, consider sharing it with someone else who might be confused about their January payment. And if you have questions, leave them in the comments. I'll do my best to point you in the right direction. Thanks for watching. Take care of yourself. And remember, your January money is coming. You just need to know when to expect it.